My name is Macy Welch, and this is my research presentation. The discourse community I have chose to research is 4-H. 4-H is America's largest youth development organization, empowering nearly 6 million young people with the skills to lead for a lifetime. Members can raise animals. You can participate in projects such as sewing, bowling, arts and crafts, cooking, dirt biking, things like that. Basically all of the things that you aren't taught in school, 4-H will teach you. I was in 4-H for 12 years. You age out at either the time that you turn 18 or 1 year out of high school, whichever comes first. And when I first started out, I raised chickens, not to sell, just to show. And then I moved up to lambs once my parents thought I was old enough and big enough to handle a lamb. And then I moved up to showing steers, which is a cow. And it's very important to spend a lot of time with these animals, especially the steers, because the animals are literally so big that they will drag you around the ring. So when members take their animals to the county or state fair, or a jackpot even, a jackpot is where you just go to show your animal, you don't actually sell them. But all of the animals are being judged. You have one class, which is a showmanship class, which is how well you and your animal work together. So that's a very good example of why it's so important to spend so much time with your animals and work with them every day. And then on the other hand, you have your market class, where that class is only about the animal and how the animal looks and the structure of the animal. So you're grouped into classes based on the weight of the animal. And in each class, the judge will place you in first, second, third, and so on. And each first and second place will then move on to the next level, you could say. And then at the very end of the day, the very last class is the crowning of the grand champion and the reserve grand champion. And that is what every 4-H member strives to achieve. I won reserve grand champion steer in 2016, and it was amazing and it was awesome. And it really just showed me that all of the hard work that I had put into my animal that year really truly did pay off. So that's just one memory of 4-H that I have and I will cherish forever. So within every county, there's multiple different 4-H clubs that you can join. You do have to apply and get accepted. So like the club that I was in was a very large club. It was the largest club in Napa. And there was a very long wait list. So I was on the wait list for, I think, 2 years. This because, of course, I joined when the club was smaller. Granted, there was still a wait list, but I ended up getting in about 2 years later. And so every club has a monthly meeting, and the meetings are very official. You go over the minutes of the last meeting, the funds of the club, and then all of the meetings get adjourned at the very end. And within those meetings, you're basically discussing important events, important dates, what's going to happen in the future, those sorts of things. Aside from the club meetings, you also have project meetings. So for me, I was in the steer project, and then I was also in the hog project, which is a pig. And then I was also in sewing and bowling. So I had my one club monthly meeting, and then I also had 4 project meetings a month. So that's a total of 5 meetings every month that you have to make it to. And if you miss more than 2 meetings, you will get essentially dropped. So it's very important that you are there. Members can communicate with their leaders and within other members, either at the meetings or through email. And then also the county will send out a monthly 4-H newsletter, which has important upcoming events and dates and things like that. my micro versus macro slide. 4-H is an organization that not many people know about, surprisingly. Yes, there are about 6 million members across the country, but almost every time I have an encounter with someone about 4-H, they always ask me, what is that? And my way of answering is just when you see the animals at the county or state fair, those are from members of 4-H. That's the best way that I can tell them what it is, just because there's so much more that goes into it. But on the outside looking in, it's very hard for somebody to understand that. I think this community compares to larger communities by teaching members all that it takes to raise an animal, all the time and hard work and dedication and money that goes into all of these projects, especially the animals. And then also, there's things like 4-H teaches you how to do your taxes. I never learned that in school, but 4-H taught me how to do it. The issue I've chosen to talk about is how the public views 4-H. While doing my research, I discovered how many people are truly against the organization, just because when I would talk to people in person, nobody ever seemed like they were against it. Maybe they just didn't disclose that to me, I'm not sure. But the public seems to believe that members are only in it for the money and that we are killing animals only for a check. The public doesn't see how much time, effort, and money goes into these animals. This issue is significant because if word spreads about 4-H being animal cruelty, the organization could lose potential members from joining. So I want to talk about the statement about that we are only killing animals for a check. So these animals are not cheap to raise. I'll give you an example. When I was raising steers, the average steer, if you would like to buy a nice looking one, granted you can go out and buy just a range cattle that lives on the side of a hill and eats grass, but if you would like to actually be able to compete with your animal, those animals are expensive. The average nice looking steer sells for about $6,000. So that is what the member is buying that animal as. $6,000, you're going out to a breeder and buying a calf. And then you take it home and you dump about $8,000 more worth of food, equipment, bedding, things like that. So that you're already in about $14,000. Now, Napa has always been very lucky with their prices at the fair, the auction, the animals always seem to sell for a very good amount, but I know people who were selling animals in different counties. For example, the Stanislaus County Fair, cows would sell for about $2 a pound, and at that point, a cow weighs around 1,300, 1,400 pounds. You're barely breaking even. So, like I said, Napa's always been very lucky with the prices. So Napa, usually you will break even and make some money, but in other counties, the kids are just not as fortunate as we are in Napa, and that's something that I've always been very grateful of, was that at auction, the kids always do extremely well, and there's never a kid that doesn't have someone that is going to bid on their animal. This issue has everything to do with communication. The people that are writing articles online about 4-H probably honestly know nothing about 4-H and what 4-H stands for. They don't see all the hard work and time and dedication and money that goes into it. And so it's very important for members and leaders to truly spread the information about 4-H, to spread true information. And hopefully, by doing that, they will be able to bring in new members or families that are interested in the organization. It was very important to the organization because it goes against everything that 4-H stands for. 4-H is only there to improve the youth and teach them valuable life lessons, teach them responsibility and things like that. So when people are going around and writing articles online about all of the negatives that they think that 4-H is, it could deter potential members from joining the organization. And just like everything in life, you need money, and the 4-H organization is huge, and so they need money as well. And without members joining, then there's no money that's coming into the organization. So I think it's very important that we try to spread the good information about 4-H and all that 4-H stands for. Looking back on my years throughout 4-H, it honestly was the best thing that happened to me as a child and young adult growing into life. And I'm so thankful for all of the memories and all of the valuable life lessons that it taught me. And I just hope that through this paper, I'll be able to enlighten the public about 4-H. I hope to share all of the good that comes from this club and maybe even change some minds about 4-H, and hopefully encourage future families to join. And hopefully with the 6 million members that 4-H has, they're also spreading good information and trying to recruit family members to join the organization.